protect voting rights. We'll pass election reform and make sure no one ever has the opportunity to steal an election again.
Again? So the media didn't cover the fact that she was holding mock slave auctions in high school, didn't cover the fact that it was an illegal alien who broke into her office, and are not covering the fact that she's taking money from transitioning children through her husband. Do you think this unfair media treatment has actually helped your campaign?
Well, I think I have an advantage because people have woken up to the fact that the media is just so unfair, thanks to President Trump kind of waking us up. I was surprised that I had 100% negative coverage. There were a couple stories that weren't as negative, but I think getting 100% negative coverage as I've had, the people are awake now and they go, oh, of course. The people that are getting negative coverage in the mainstream media are truly the people you want to vote for. They're the ones that are right over the bullseye, over the target, and they're talking about the issues, and they have policies for the issues that truly matter, like border security, reducing crime on our streets, making sure our kids are getting a real education, not an indoctrination.
Such a stunning development, especially so close to Election Day.
Yeah, a break-in at Katie Hobbs' campaign headquarters late at night, and police are now looking for the person who did this. Investigators are not saying what the person took, but they have surveillance video showing someone approaching the door to the campaign office the night of the burglary.
I can't believe that she would blame my amazing people or blame me for something like that. I don't even know where her campaign office is. I'm assuming it's in a basement somewhere, because that's where she's been campaigning.
And that is Kari Lake responding to another part of the Katie Hobbs message earlier, which seemed to blame the Lake campaign for at least ratcheting up the criticism and the vitriol during this campaign. As you can hear there is no love lost. But
my desperate opponent, who's sinking like a lead weight in water, pulled a stunt, and you guys fell for it. She put out a defamatory statement, and you all ran with it. You didn't do your journalistic duty. It was malpractice of journalism like I've never seen before. And it was an effort, I believe, to influence this election. Many of you are an arm of the Democrat Party. Many of you are propagandists, and almost all of you should be ashamed. So I want to show you what happened yesterday. My Democrat opponent put out a statement. Where's our board here? Right here. While I'm meeting with police officers and firefighters working to make sure that our state is safe, she's pulling stunts, and you guys are falling hook, line, and sinker into it. She puts out a statement about a petty theft that happened at her office. She knew darn well that I had nothing to do with it, so she puts a statement out, and right away, your gatekeepers over at the Arizona Democrat Party jump on it, and they put a statement out, which was the cue to you to go ahead and start running with it. NBC News, an arm of the Democrat Party, was the first to start reporting on it. And then we get this from Newsy, whatever that is. Gubernatorial candidate campaign headquarters broken into. Oh, you guys spread this like wildfire. Then The Guardian, overseas. Campaign headquarters broken into, Watergate, oh my goodness. And then Axios, with our local reporter, Jeremy Dutta, runs on it. Can't wait to get it out. Does absolutely no fact checking. Runs with the fake news. Let's leave it there for right now. You got to do better, guys. We were 13 days out from the election, and you're trying to influence this election, much like you did in 2020 when you refused to cover Joe Biden's criminal son, Hunter Biden's laptop. You refused to cover that. You refused to cover the evidence that was on that. And this time it's the other way around. You're taking completely bogus stories and you're running with it. It's absolute fake news. I want to show you this. This was an actual picture and font that ran on NBC News. Vaughn, this is your news outlet. This ran on NBC News all day. It says, GOP incites break-in at the campaign headquarters, Hobbs campaign headquarters. And look at the picture they picked. Thank you very much, Vaughn. Thank you, NBC. Look at this one. AZ Dem governor candidate Katie Hobbs blames GOP incitement for break-in at campaign headquarters. Again, MSNBC, an arm of the Democrat Party. Arizona Central runs with it. No fact-checking. You guys don't want to dig around. You just run defamatory statements. Stacy Bartender over at Arizona Repugnant, running this. I mean, I've got many of these guys. It's embarrassing. KOLD. It's a direct result of concerned campaign lies of intimidation, blaming me for a break-in. Now, hopefully by now, you figured it out, but that's part of the plan. You don't care about the facts. You know the facts will come out later. You'll cover those once or twice, no big deal. But you'll cover the lie, you'll spread it around the globe over and over and over again. That is how fake news is spread. You will absolutely take a complete bogus story. You knew lies were in that. Well, I have a story for you. We had an incident this morning at our campaign headquarters. Now, I didn't go crazy and I didn't throw a bunch of statements out, but we had an incident where somebody was seen rummaging in our campaign office. And I have evidence to believe it may have been Katie Hobbs herself who was involved in this. And so I want you to take the same vigor you put into the story, the lies that were spread yesterday, and I want to make sure you guys, I saw last night, Fox 10 News, my old employer, wow, they actually did more to protect the criminal in this case. They blurred his face. They protected Katie Hobbs because they're carrying her water. And they defamed me. They put defamatory statements, lies about me. And the reason they did that is because this was the real news yesterday that none of you wanted to cover. We're 11 points up. You're in a frenzied panic because your chosen candidate is not winning. You didn't want to cover this, so you had to run with a completely garbage bullshit story. Shame on each and every one of you. Shame on you. Now, we had an incident this morning at about 6:45 a.m. We have video, we have actually a photographic evidence of somebody rummaging through our campaign headquarters. And I believe it was Katie Hobbs, and I would like to show you that photographic evidence. I hope you'll cover this with the same vigor that you covered everything else. Now, we're laughing. I know this is a joke, obviously, in case you didn't figure it out. But what I'm trying to tell you is it's a joke what you guys are doing in the news. And the world should know that you guys are not serious journalists when you cover this garbage. Shame on you for trying to change the election results. I know, Joe, that your eyes hurt over there and you're too cool for school. Joe Dana doesn't even want to pay attention over here with 12 News, one of the worst instigators of fake news in town. This is the kind of garbage you guys spread. When I get to the questions, I will, Joe. But let me tell you, this was the real news yesterday, guys. 11 points up. Not a darn one of you covered it. I'm sure Fox 10, when they got the results of their poll, were shocked. They barely covered it as well. And it's really disappointing. And here's the story. It's Katie Hobbs' proposals and ideas that will have more crimes like this happening. It's not a joke when someone gets broken into. I know many people, we've been victims of crime. And we're going to see a lot more crime with Katie Hobbs' policies. Her policies to defund the police, to not support the police. She doesn't back our police. She actually denounces our police in order to get Planned Parenthood money. She voted against condemning rioters. The kind of policies Katie Hobbs is going to push on the people of Arizona is going to be so damaging. It's going to increase crime. And I hope that you guys will start covering some of her nonsense California-type socialist policies that will have us swimming in crime. And with that, I will take questions. If you have a question about this incident, I'd be happy to take them. I'm going to start over here with the Gateway Pundit.
As you know, this is another dishonest strategy from Katie Hobbs. It's actually a conspiracy theory, what they blame you of peddling. So we recently found out that Katie Hobbs and her sister, her twin sister Becky, they tried to help you in the primary. Apparently they were donating to Republican Trump-endorsed candidates, and they were doing this because they know the media is so hard on you guys. Can Arizona trust Katie Hobbs or the fake news media?
Well, we can't trust the fake news media, and we know that Hobbs isn't going to win because her policies are terrible. She's way down in the polls, and without these guys working on her campaign, she wouldn't have any good press out there. Obviously, her sister, I heard, voted for me, her twin sister, so she's smarter than Hobbs, than Katie Hobbs. And I did hear some video that, I don't know who put it out, of her talking about this plan, and she sounds much more articulate than Katie Hobbs herself. Maybe she should have run. Because Katie Hobbs, sure enough, is a coward. She refuses to debate. She disrespects the people of this state by refusing to debate. She's willing to make up complete bogus stories. She knew that I had nothing to do with that break-in, and yet she perpetuated that lie. You guys all fell for it, and she knew you'd fall for it.
Hobbs' campaign manager is saying that the candidate and her staff have faced death threats throughout the campaign. She was quick to point a finger at Hobbs' Trump-backed Republican opponent, Kari Lake, whom they blame for spreading dangerous misinformation. And here is how Lake responded.
Next question. Joe Dana. Let's go with Joe Dana, 12 News, who's so tired he can't even pay attention.
As we reported, Katie Hobbs' suggestion that you had something to do with it yesterday was unfounded. She had no evidence. Did you have evidence last night to suggest this was a Jussie Smollett case, that somehow she staged it?
I think you know what I was saying last night. I was pointing out that the media loves to run with these bogus stories that hurt conservatives. And they do it. No, let me answer. If you ask the question, let me answer. The media loves to run with bogus stories that hurt conservatives. And let me give you some examples. You love to smear Republicans. It's what you guys make your money off of. Thankfully, no one's watching you. Look what you did to Kyle Rittenhouse. You smeared him. Look what you did to Nick Sandmann, a teenage boy. You smeared him with no evidence. Same type of stuff, Joe. Same type of stuff. You smeared.
Did you have evidence to suggest
I
that
had
it was
evidence. Yeah.
staged?
No, I didn't say it was staged. I said it was a Jussie Smollett type story, a political story meant to hurt conservatives. And I did have evidence that was the case. You know why? The evidence I had was I had nothing to do with it, and I knew that. You did the same thing, shame on you, with Kyle Rittenhouse, Nick Sandmann. You spread Russiagate bullshit stories for 3.5 years and divided this country. Thank God your ratings are in the toilet. That's exactly where they deserve to be. Start being journalists. Stop spreading the garbage that the Arizona Democrat Party and Katie Hobbs and the Democrats are spreading, and start doing your job. Next question, anybody? If I win, are people going to be able to trust the results? I'm worried about how the elections are run because my liar opponent who's willing to lie about this is already incompetent. The Arizona Supreme Court called her incompetent. We've already seen levels of incompetency in the previous primary, where we ran out of Republican ballots in Pinal County. She's already messed up this race. I don't think she knows what she's doing. She's had her office shut down for 2 years. Are you reporting that, guys? Secretary of State's office closed for business for 2 years, except online because of COVID. Yeah, that's a fact. She's only showed up for work 19 days in 6 months. So I don't think her head's in the game to do the job and run the elections well. It's unfortunate, but we're going to turn it around and we're going to make sure we get rid of loopholes for cheating. And we're going to make sure that every Democrat, Independent, and Republican in Arizona knows that we have fair elections. Got to do that. We won't have a country much longer. Thank you. Who are you and who are you?
Rock, Washington Examiner. I wonder how you would suggest that we as the media cover this story. Were we supposed to ignore it? Or there wasn't a lot of information. We were trying to report it out. I'm just curious how you...
Yeah, you dig around and you wait. You realize you have enough experience, hopefully, to recognize what this is. Late in the game, 13 days out, desperate campaign because they're falling like a rock in the polls. Again, she got word that she's 11 points down. And you use some discernment and go, wait a minute, let's think of the motivation here. Pause before we run with this. Jeremy Dutta, who runs with it like it's crazy, like it's, oh my gosh, we got to get this out. Stop and think for a minute. Think if it makes sense. Dig around a little bit. Talk to your sources. Don't just run with it. And don't put it around like NBC News did. Boy, they were so eager to put these stories out there that I had something to do with it. Slow down, get your facts straight, press her. You know, she did get pressed today and she didn't want to talk about it. Isn't that funny? Yesterday she wants to spread this defamatory statement and you guys ran with it. It's defamatory, guys. It's defamatory. It's accusing me of being a criminal. Do you get that? Do you understand what a defamatory statement is? You all spread defamatory statements yesterday in an effort to influence the election. So stop and think is what I'm asking you to do. Use some discernment. Use some critical thinking about what's happening. That's how you cover it. Next question.
Carrie, I gotta push back.
I've
with
got
the
a
AZ
question right
Central.
here.
We did not quote
Right here,
her claims
ABC
about
News.
you.
ABC News.
How can you stand here and say that?
I was wondering why you felt it was important to be here today as well, and just this is all coming amid these reports of voter intimidation. If you had any take on that, if there's voter.
Well, Abe's here for a variety of reasons. He's going to be law and order, and we're going to restore some law and order in this state. Also, he's been the subject of defamatory reporting as well. And we're really tired of it. The people are, you guys, the people are exhausted by the news you guys are spreading. They just want some honesty. And I know not everyone is a bad person here. I'm not accusing you of that. I know sometimes you take it back to the station. We used to say, it's not my sandbox, I just play in it, right? And you've got editors back there. Start pushing back. Start pushing back against these editors. That's why I'm standing up, speaking out against you guys when you try to push a narrative, calling names like election denier, that kind of stuff. The real election deniers, I think I told you guys, are the Democrats, okay?
Look, the outright lies that she's telling about things that she has no evidence for are absolutely disqualifying. That's my response to that, and I will say that as loud and as often as I need to. She continues to tout these lies, and whenever she's confronted about it, she just changes the subject. She has no evidence.
I have a question here. What's your name and who are you with?
I'm with ABC 15. You know, we've seen the people outside of the ballot box. We've got 12 days left to the election, right? 11 days left or so. There's people outside with the tripods filming some of the ballot drop-off locations. Even the sheriff of Maricopa County, Paul Penzone, had said there's nothing that they can do. It's not illegal. I wanted to hear your reaction, Kari, if you felt if that was okay, if you saw that as voter intimidation in any way.
So what are they doing? They're standing outside and they're taking photos? They're standing back?
That's right. Again, the sheriff said there's nothing that's criminal about it. The sheriff told us that on Monday. After there were
Do you realize the hypocrisy of this question? Your job, I worked 30 years, what you guys do. Your job is to stand on public property and take pictures. You do it all the time. We fought for that right. For a citizen, for a journalist to have freedom of speech, to stand on the public property and take photos. It's not a criminal act. It's not a criminal act, unless you guys are criminals.
Do you think they should be dressed in tactical gear and armed?
I think that's silly. I think it's silly. I'd like to see who they really are. I'd love to see a picture of their face, because I don't like when people cover their face. I don't like masks. I think you should, if you're going to do something like that, you should show your face. Next question. Who are you with?
Kilo Tasser with KTAR News.
You're with KTAR?
Mm-hmm. Are you planning on suing the Hobbs campaign for defamation?
We're going to look at everything. I don't know. I mean, we're just going to vote her out of office and send her back to the private sector. And I really don't want to have Katie Hobbs at any point in my life. And I don't think the voters do either.
Kari, back to the voter intimidation question. I actually went down to the Maricopa County Tabulation Election Center last night. I spoke to sheriff's deputies in an unmarked car about what they're doing out there, right? And I actually asked them, are you looking for anybody who's stuffing ballot boxes? And they told me no. We're only out here to make sure that people aren't watching people drop their ballots in the boxes. What's the deal with that? Don't you think they should be looking out for this ballot trafficking or harvesting, which is illegal in the state?
Well, I think that, you know, if this journalist or reporter, or I don't know what outlet it was with, said that they're doing nothing wrong, then they're doing nothing wrong. They're standing on public property taking photos. That is legal. And I really wish that they will, hopefully they will, if people call in with any incident of vote problems, that I hope they're going to investigate them. I would count on them investigating them, so I'm counting on that. George.
Two things. One, congratulations on the 11-point spread, but we're still the underdog as I see what's happening around here.
I got to keep fighting like we're the underdog, because you know who I'm fighting against? The press. The disgusting propagandists who are trying to sway an election. You're trying to sway an election. This is going to be one of the darkest times in modern day journalism. It really is, guys. I think someday you're going to wake up to the fact of what you were up to. Back to you, George.
Also, I want to thank them because of your press releases that you're doing right now, man. And I have no ties to your campaign whatsoever. I'm a media person just like everybody else, and I like to make a public announcement. My feed went up to 790,000 views. 700, man. 7. And 75,000 people comments are saying to you, keep doing what you're doing. We're not listening to any other news.
That's right.
And that's what I wanted to give you this feedback. As of this morning, I can reply to everyone.
I'm glad that people are awake. They're realizing this is how you get the information. We're streaming this, so the world is watching this, the people in America are watching this. And thank you for mentioning you have a lot of views. Is that what you're saying? Okay. And these guys don't have the viewers. And it's sad. I used to work at 12 News many years ago. We were #1. We had huge numbers. Now they have newscasts where it gets a little asterisk. And when you look at the ratings and you get an asterisk, that means no one's watching. They actually have newscasts on 12 News and some of the others with an asterisk. It means no one's watching, no detectable life watching. Their 10 o'clock newscast gets, on a good day, 2,000 viewers. These are the overnight ratings. This is a fact. I'm not picking on 12 News because all of the stations are just, the ratings are in the toilet. And they have access to about 7 million viewers. And you're not doing a good job, guys, if you're getting an asterisk, which means no one's watching, or you're getting 2,000 viewers out of 7 million. We want Republicans up and down that ballot for the sanity and safety of our state. And we're working together as a team. Have you seen Katie Hobbs with anybody? Nobody wants to be seen with her. She's radioactive. She's radioactive. Even the national Democrats are saying she has the worst run campaign they've ever seen. She doesn't debate. They said Fetterman's a better candidate. They said Fetterman candidate. That's why she pulled this stunt, because of these poll numbers, and she knew that you guys would fall for it. This is defamatory. Would you allow somebody to make a statement like that against a prominent business leader in the community and run with it? You wouldn't do that. You would pause, you'd probably talk to your legal department, and you'd slow down and try to get your facts straight. But you didn't do that last night, and you're trying to influence the election. Any other questions? And who are you with?
Amy Flora with Washington Examiner. You spend a lot of time calling out the fake news, and even saying you left the news industry because you felt yourself a real journalist. Who do you consider a real journalist?
I've talked about this before. I think John Solomon with Just the News is amazing. Cheryl Atkinson is amazing. I think the Epic Times does great work. And there's a few others. Thankfully, we have more independent people who've walked away and said, I'm still a journalist at heart. I'm still a journalist at heart. I'm going a different direction. But some journalists have said, I'm done with this. I'm walking away so I can maintain my dignity. And so I'm looking forward to seeing more and more independent journalists do the right thing and live to be true journalists.